Hey, good morning. All right, where did we leave off in the story? Um, Living in Pennsylvania, and we had moved back in with my in-laws. At this point, I think I had done about 8 years in manufacturing for the same company, but I had gotten it in my head that I was too good, that I could pretty much do whatever. I had lost my fingers at this job and really just kind of become a menace, acting like I was better than what I needed to be. And it resulted in me getting terminated from that job. Just mistakes had amounted where there was enough negative around me that they were able to let go of me. And so now I'm looking for new opportunities in Pennsylvania rather than driving back into Maryland in the job that I had been holding for near a decade. And you know, I stuck with manufacturing. Fortunate enough that the area of York has a lot of manufacturing opportunities, and the resume that I had built gave me opportunities to get into different work environments. And it took me a minute to find one that stuck, but I did find one. And so we wound up leaving the in laws when it became really problematic. We were arguing all the time, things were just not good. And we wound up getting into a little apartment, and our social network was strong. All of these fairy festival friends were super supportive, and I believe if it wasn't for them, we definitely wouldn't have survived. I mean, we were homeless at times, squatting with friends, relying on the generosity of the people around us to really just survive life. But I was still alive. I had decided to stick it out with my first wife, my kid's mom, despite the trauma, the emotional trauma of finding out that she had been unfaithful to me, and stuck it out. And it was a pretty rough road from, when I found out about the affair until decided that ultimately it wasn't a lifestyle that I could maintain any longer. We bounced from apartment to apartment, from a friend's house to a different friend's house, back with the in-laws, and it was just a really rough road for several years there. But we were surviving, like very strong in our social community. We're still partying, still living the life, but it was because of the generosity of the people around us that we were able to survive in basically what I would say was a great life. Had I died at that point, I would have died believing that I was living the dream. Raising my children, living with a woman that I loved, despite all the challenges. And this is where things really start to take an interesting turn. My kids are now 12 and 14, and we had just come out of basically being homeless, living at a friend's house, and we found ourselves in Loganville, Pennsylvania, of all places, this little town. But I couldn't overcome the pain, of the affair that had happened 5 years earlier. Truth and love.